Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening around the world. My name is Doug Brunke, founder and CEO of Global Chamber. We have a very timely conversation today about cybersecurity. I don't know about you, but if you're monitoring your own website and what's going on out there, we do. And every day we have, I would say, at least a dozen attempts that we can see of attacks on the Global Chamber website. We've been told by our web company that there are multiple attacks every day, attempts every day on ours. Many of them, at least the ones that we see, have Russian language in them. And so I think that potentially goes along with some of what we hear in the press, that there are bad actors out there, and some of them, maybe many of them, are in Russia. And what's happening now is that they're taking data, taking our business basically away from us, and asking for us to pay ransom and other bad activity. And so cybersecurity and protecting basically your business is critically important. It's a hot item in the news, and you need to be aware of how to protect your business. And so fortunately, we have a world-renowned expert who's a member of Global Chamber, happens to be in Texas, is based in Austin, Texas. Edwin Pope is the president and founder of DigitalGenetix. If I can get my mouth working this morning, I think I need a little bit more green tea. Sorry, Ed. Ed is got 30 years of experience in this area. He does this for a living. He helps companies, not just in Texas, but around the US, involved with global business to protect their business. And so what he's going to be talking about today is critically important, not just from a cybersecurity perspective, but also from a compliance perspective, and also the fact that we're connected to everything. We're vulnerable to a lot of these activities. And so Ed's going to talk through somewhat rapid fire, I understand, lots of information we're going to get today. So don't feel overwhelmed. I would say my guidance to you would be to listen, to absorb, and then reach out to Ed directly, or if you can't find a way to get to him, he'll have his contact information. Let us know, and we're happy to get you in there and follow up on anything specific that you're concerned about, because this is something you need to be concerned about. Ed, really appreciate you on a fairly short notice coming in today and talking about this really important topic. I'll turn it over to you. Please let us know. Oh, you're on mute.
So much for all that experience, Doug. Thank you so much for your wonderful introduction, and thank everyone for coming out on this morning to talk about, of course, a very timely topic, cybersecurity. I don't know if you watched the news late last night or this morning, but the Biden administration just approved a cybersecurity team. They moved it making it a federal agency to help monitor high threat levels within the country. So I thought, of course, Doug is always on time and on point about the topics that matter to the chamber membership. For everyone that doesn't know, I'm Ed Pope. I'm the president of DigitalGenetix, and we're a fractional IT firm that specializes in helping small to mid-sized businesses throughout the US in their IT endeavors. I'm really excited this morning about the opportunity, and I want to recognize both Doug and Cesar for all of the work that they do with the Global Chamber membership, helping us to be relevant and be up on what's taking place across the global spectrum. Now, if it's okay, I'm going to turn off my camera a little bit so I'm not distracted, and I'm going to go right into the presentation if that's okay. All right.
Looks great. We're all
right.
set.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So this is lowering cyber risk through compliance, connectivity, and cybersecurity. And when Doug reached out to me and asked me about this, first of all, I was very impressed because that conversation him and I had was about a year ago, right at the beginning of the pandemic. And so for him to remember the specifics of our conversation, that's fantastic. So as I began trying to create this presentation, I realized that each of these topics is so vast, there's so much involved with it that we really could spend months to examine this, but I'm told I only have 45 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk kind of high level about each topic, what it means, and then what each of you can do to help shore up compliance, connectivity, and your cybersecurity efforts in your own business. And additionally, we just finished up a book that's going to be available at the start of the summer entitled Go Digital. And it's written in plain speak for small to mid-sized business owners. One of the things we notice is that a lot of times, a lot of the books that are written are for large enterprises and really don't reach out to the small and mid-sized business world. So we wrote this in plain speak, and it's going to contain a lot of the information we're talking about today, and so much more. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about cyber risks today. Now, I'm showing you some newspaper headlines, and these are real headlines that have taken place over the past 12 to 24 months. Cyber attacks have been plaguing us. Really, we're thinking maybe 10, 15 years, but all the way back, I think the earliest case of that is documented in 1986. And right now, in our time, 2021, it's far too common to hear news about information that's been stolen, ransomed, and misused at the expense of everyday individuals. This is becoming more complicated with new technologies being introduced daily. We have faster speeds with 5G. We have more appliances on the network and aging devices that are past their life cycles. And this increases the likelihood that a cyber attack will take place and succeed. And one of the things that I found disturbing as I've been going through this particular presentation is not a matter of when you're going to be attacked. I mean, if you're going to be attacked, it's a matter of when you're going to be attacked. So the response to this has been mixed. Governments all over the world are doing their best to protect us from these costly and invasive events. But legislation like the EU's GDPR or HIPAA in the US that's been created to provide protections for us bring a lot of angst and anxieties to small businesses, because we have to make the investment in maintaining those regulatory policies. So what can we do? What can we do to help keep ourselves safe as best we can? And let's start by eating the frog a little bit and talking about compliance. Now, compliance takes on so many different meanings based on your industry, your geography, size, your scope, and customer guidelines. For the sake of this webinar, we're going to talk a little bit about the better known regulations, and then kind of dive down into one of the most prevalent, GDPR, the General Data Protection Act. And we're going to talk a little bit about the CCPA, the California Consumer Privacy Act. We're not going to go as deep with the CCPA, because one of the prerequisites is you need to have at least 50,000 customers in California to have to comply to this regulation. Now, regulations are designed to help companies improve their information security by providing guidelines and best practices based on the company's industry and type of data that they maintain. Non-compliance with these regulations, though, can result in severe fines and even worse, a data breach. Most companies are subjected to at least one security regulation. The difficulty comes in determining which ones apply and interpreting what policies and controls are required to maintain compliance. Regardless if a company chooses to engage as a trusted advisor, the first step of the process is to assess which laws and acts apply to them. Once it's completed, they need to organize their information security to address the boundaries put in place by those acts. This process requires a set plan, and that's a big piece of what we're going to talk about today. Having a set plan put in place to address those acts. Discussing specific legislation as it relates to individual companies can be vague. My suggestion is to have a cybersecurity assessment done. Assessments are valuable tools in evaluating organizational security and privacy against a set of globally recognized standards and best practices. Companies like ours or some others can help you conduct periodic assessments for customers that don't have an established regulatory or have an IT department. So here are some of the compliance regulations. The first one, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, this is more of a framework, kind of best practices for all businesses. And really, it's kind of the leader in helping organizations design a cybersecurity plan and reduce the risk in it. And if you reach out to me via LinkedIn or email, I will send you a condensed PDF of this. So hopefully it'll help you as you're trying to design compliance. Yeah, the next one, we're all familiar with HIPAA. CIS controls. Now this helps protect your organizational assets and data. GDPR, and this is huge because when this was enacted, a lot of people in North America thought it was specifically just for companies based in the European Union. But really what it says is if you are extracting information from customers or potential customers in the EU, then this regulation applies to you. And so we're going to talk about that after we kind of go through it. The CCPA is really an extension of GDPR, but it's specific to the citizens of California. All right, there we go. Hopefully you all are familiar with the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. That was in the early 2000. Really was written because of Enron to prevent board of directors and leading executives from saying that they didn't know what was going on. FERPA, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act of 1974, anyone that's on this call or any organization that's involved in education, you have to be aware of that. PCI DSS, Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, very big, of course, in the financial sector, and it's designed to help data breaches, to keep data breaches from happening. And then you have the International Traffic in Arms Regulation, and this controls the sale of defense articles and defense services that provide critical military or intelligence capability. Now, this is really just the tip of the iceberg. And so there are so many different types of compliances that are out there that impact our businesses. One of the things that I didn't include in this presentation Also, if you have a relationship with a larger enterprise customer, let's say like Home Depot, they're very stringent on the compliances that they have for you to connect into their EDI, their electronic data interchange. And so when you come across that, don't just ignore it. Do a little homework, research it out. And if you need help, if you're overwhelmed, of course, it's not your core competency. You can reach out to DigitalGenetix, or you can reach out to other third-party providers that will help you create policy to adhere to the different regulations that are out there. Now, what we're going to focus on is GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. Now, this was adopted in 2016, and the GDPR creates rules for how all European residents must be managed. So, for instance, if you have an e-commerce site or website with a simple form on it, basically in a nutshell, you have to have a policy that's prominently listed on your website that tells that potential customer, tells that user how you manage their information, what any remedy is if they don't want their information shared outside of your particular network. Now, what it did, it reshaped how companies did business in Europe. And really, it wasn't meant to slow e-commerce down. Rather, it was meant to ensure that critical data of the end users wasn't sold without their knowledge. And we all know that had been going on for a long time. The problem comes in is that most of your small to mid-sized businesses really didn't have an avenue to adhere to the GDPR regulation. And I think initially it was a nightmare because people were getting notified that they had violated this regulation. And so what's happened, companies like mine got involved and started helping to shape a response to the GDPR and CCPA. The other piece is platforms. I don't know how many of you all use e-commerce platforms like Magento, WordPress, Shopify, BigCommerce. Well, they found it beneficial, of course, to build in compliances in their platform that help to shape policy to adhere to the GDPR. So the biggest thing is you have to do is ask questions about the providers that you're using to help you adhere to that, including the e-commerce platform. Do I know what data they're collecting, what they're using it for? Do they need this information for the actions I'm carrying out on their website? Am I informed of my rights as a user? Can I request for my data to be modified or deleted at any time? And so if you can answer yes to these questions, then you're compliant. If you can't, then you need to kind of go back and do a deep dive in what you need to do. These are the consequences of non-compliance with the GDPR. Complaints are lodged. They can be lodged with the authorities. Judicial remedy, another way of saying that you're going to court and you're going to spend a little bit of money to get this rectified. And then, and in case this regulation is breached, fines can go up to 4%. Now, 4% of your annual global revenue, not just your revenue in the EU, but your overall revenue worldwide, or 20 million euro, whichever is higher. So it behooves us to make sure that we're compliant with GDPR. So here are best practices overall, and this is a high overview. Number one, be involved with an industry-specific association. I know we get into some regulatory piece with the Global Chamber, but also if you're a member of some financial association, if you're in the finance business, in the print business, they have print associations. The membership is worth it because it, first of all, helps you align with changes, and it actually even help to influence some of the changes in your industry. The other part, it introduces you to vendors that can assist you in your compliance efforts. Number two, utilize software that follows specific compliance guidelines. And we had a call on yesterday, one of our financial customers, and they were looking into the viability of a platform called SecureX. When we looked them up, yeah, they actually adhere to a lot of the financial regulatory standards that exist. Now you have other platforms like Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, that have special industry-specific plugins or modules that'll help you meet regulatory compliance. The third thing is conduct periodic organizational assessments. And that simply means go throughout your organizations, look at your people, your processes, and your technology, and see if they are aligned or informed about the different regulatory standards that your company is under. Number four, purchase cyber insurance. Now, it's not just for the protection, but also for the guidance that a lot of the insurance companies can provide in your particular industry. Five is train. Let's make sure that not only are the business owners, not only are we prepared, but the employees as well. And then last but not least, create a cybersecurity policy and a plan for your business. I think that's one of the major things that I see the big difference in between large enterprise organizations that we work with and our small to mid-sized business customers. Something will take place, and even though they had received material from us, even though we might have had some discussions, they didn't sit down and actually put together a policy. Actually, so much so that we actually provide very broad policy regarding some regulatory, some IT specific regulations for business. Now, the next piece is connectivity. And it sounds really simple, but it is a major gap for most companies, and not just small companies, for all companies. How you connect to your data and the outside world is very important. I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm somewhere and I don't have the number of bars I need to get an adequate signal, and my phone runs very slow. And there's something that I'm trying to process. There's something I'm trying to engage in. And so it's easy to connect to that Walmart Wi-Fi or that Home Depot Wi-Fi. The world's worst actually is the airport. When you're traveling, you're traveling and you connect to that airport Wi-Fi. How many times have you logged in on your phone or laptop into a free Wi-Fi signal? Then even in our homes and offices, we don't use best practices there. A lot of times, I know in my home, I still have children here, and their friends or family will come over and they'll say, "Hey, can I get the Wi-Fi code? Can I get the Wi-Fi code?" And unbeknownst to me, they've plugged into my network. So casual connections can create direct vulnerabilities for your data. The best way I can position this is to be vigilant with who, what, where, and how you connect. And I'm going to use a quote here. It says, "Today our very survival depends on our ability to stay awake, to adjust to new ideas, to remain vigilant, and to face the challenge of change." Now, the author of this quote might surprise you, because this is really relevant to our conversation today about cybersecurity. And so when I was, again, when I'm talking to customers about this, and I tell them who it is, they kind of laugh. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. actually said this. Now, he was talking about social change, but we're talking about change in our entire lifestyle, because digital impacts everything. And because we have become so casual about how we connect to whom, what, and where we connect, it's opened up a lot of vulnerabilities in our personal and our business lives. So the two things we're going to talk about today are, on that end, on the connectivity piece, are VPNs and endpoint protection. Now, this part's going to be a little more concise than the compliance piece, because it's very simple. We're going to talk about is what each means, what they do, and then how to achieve a solid standard with your VPN and endpoint protections. There's going to be a little overlap in this section with the cybersecurity section, because they really are synonymous, and endpoint protection really is your front line in defending your data against breaches. Okay. A VPN means it's a virtual private network. It gives you online privacy and anonymity by creating a private network from public internet connections. VPNs help to mask your internet protocol, your IP address, and so a lot of your actions online aren't visible and they aren't traceable. And it's a big to-do to have a VPN on your laptop, on your cell phone, right? And now what's really happening, we have IoT, right? The Internet of Things. I bought a Samsung washing machine, and really my wife insisted that we buy them, because they're beautiful, right? They look like pieces of art, right? You don't even want to wash your clothes in it. And so we bring it in, and we're going through, and the installer sets it up. And a couple of days later, I'm looking out on my network, and guess what? The washing machine and the dryer are requesting access to my internet. I'm like, this is crazy. So VPNs help to hide your devices from outsiders, and with your refrigerator, your vacuum cleaner, I mean, you name it. As a matter of fact, my neighbor here has a robotic lawnmower that's IoT. And so VPNs are invaluable in helping to bring anonymity to your IP address, because once they have your IP address, then they can access your information almost at will. Now, there's several criteria that you can use in selecting the right VPN for you. But for the sake of time in this webinar, I'm asking that you all send me an email or a message on LinkedIn, and I'll share that document with you so you can go through the process and find the right VPN. So the next one is endpoint security. And endpoint security has been around for a while, but it has evolved. Basically, if your device is connected to a network, it's considered an endpoint. It doesn't just cover laptops and mobile devices, but pretty much everything. And I don't know, with the pandemic, a lot of people had their employees and 1099s, their contractors, working on their own devices, but they were accessing their networks. Organizations of all sizes are at risk without having proper endpoint protection. You have nation states. Doug talked earlier about Russia. What's really funny is this latest breach of the Colonial Pipeline. It took place, it originated out of Russia. It wasn't the Russian government. It was a group called DarkSide that has safe haven in Russia. But the particular virus that they created was specific to attack Western countries, right? If it identified that the device was written in Russian and a couple of other languages, it would leave it alone. And so this is it's a real thing. And I heard Doug talk about the Global Chamber having a couple of attempts. Well, I'll share with you, when we first started DigitalGenetix years back, we were working with nonprofits and churches. And so one of our customers is one of the oldest churches in North America. And they decided to launch online. I'm very grateful they decided to use our services. And one morning, I get up about 4 a.m, and I went to my email, and I had probably about 2,000, 3,000 emails, because we get alerts from our server when someone's attempting to breach that. And when I saw it, I freaked out, because when we traced it back, someone was trying to hack the church. And there was a social group. There was a social group in Europe that was upset with something the pastor had said a few Sundays ago. And so I was like, this is nuts. So make sure you have the proper endpoint security. And if I can say this, this is really big. Make sure you have enterprise grade endpoint protection, because a lot of times I hear customers say, I say, hey, where did you get your device from? They'll say, I went to Sam's Club, I went to Best Buy, I just needed something quick. But you're running all of your data. You're running all of your data on this. And so long story short, it's not strong enough to protect your data from these type of breaches. So make sure you have enterprise grade endpoint security. Make sure you're running Windows Professional, not Windows Home, or Windows Enterprise. Windows Enterprise is a lot better as far as protection is concerned. Now, if this is a little confusing or it seems like a lot, it is. But what we try to do is simplify these concepts and simplify approaches to these problems. And so we were very fortunate on last year to be able to get connected to a manufacturer that actually creates a device that does all of this. Now, the appliance is no larger than 2 iPhones stacked on top of one another, but it packs a major punch in the area of both connectivity and security. And it can help utilize existing internet or broadband connections. It can run on satellite, or it can run on SIM cards. It actually has slots for 2 SIM cards. And I don't know, Brian, are you on the line?
I'm here, Ed.
Okay, Brian, can you explain a little bit? Brian actually is the distributor for the Cellaway Go product. And I asked him to get on the call with us today so he could kind of explain how this works, and really kind of delve into, I call it cybersecurity in a box. So I'm going to give it to him for a minute or two to explain this new device.
Thank you, Ed. Appreciate it, and appreciate the chamber for having us on. What we've learned over this last year is VPNs were created for some people were working remotely, but now everyone is working remotely, and that makes the cyber criminals happy. They're attacking our employees, everybody working from home, and the VPNs alone will fall short of giving you the adequate security. So, we've never been concerned about somebody working in one of our branch office. We have a corporation, and there's a branch office in Austin here, everybody working from home. We have firewalls and all different types of things to protect us. But we're relying on the VPN to protect us. And the VPN is secure. The VPN is secure between the laptop and back to the corporate headquarters. And we can put encryption keys and encrypt that data. The problem is the cyber criminals have gotten really smart, and they're attacking people's broadbands and their MiFis at home. Any internet source that is going into that laptop at working at home. Also, employees are using their business laptops and those types of things for personal use, which, as we all know, exposes us to viruses and those types of things. And so what this device does is it connects directly to our laptop and then never allows the laptop, cell phone or whatever that may be, to connect to a public internet source. So you guys know that if you go into a Starbucks or something like that, you probably shouldn't connect to like Ed was talking about earlier, a free Wi-Fi, or even Starbucks for that matter, because somebody could be spoofing that Wi-Fi signal. What this device does is protect you. It's as secure. What essentially does is take a branch router into a micro size, and you can also take this on the go. Literally, we've run international Zoom calls in the car. So this has an 8-hour battery. We'll have it in the car and going 70 miles an hour down the highway and get 70 MIPS of connectivity. And we're able to conduct Zoom calls. I'm connecting a Zoom call through this right now. And so it's absolutely flawless as far as connectivity, and it'll aggregate the streams between the SIMs and the broadband and all those things to give very high speed. But the number one thing is AT&T just put out some research that says that all of these work from home employees are being attacked, and that the enterprise is very vulnerable. What this prevents from happening is being the work from home user from being attacked. And it also provides much better connectivity and stable connectivity, rather than a hotspot like on a cell phone, which would only last about an hour. You would lose your connectivity again. So what this does is give you extremely fast connectivity, and then it allows the enterprise to manage it. So imagine having a 500 users or 1,000 employees working from home. You can literally manage it all from the corporate headquarters, or a person, the IT manager, is able to see exactly what people are doing, and they can whitelist sites, so they only go to business sites that, so they won't be, using the laptop to watch Netflix and all those wonderful things, or go to hazardous websites. So this can be treated just like, you see these signs, not safe for work or whatever it means for websites. And typically the IT folks at our office will protect us by giving us the good sites that we can go to and whitelist those. That's exactly what this device will allow us to do. It's a software-defined WAN and allows us to protect all of our work from home employees, our mobile employees, and it's very powerful. And happy to help Ed with all these and answering any of the questions you have for this. Anything else we could share, Ed?
Hey, Brian, no, thank you. If you can just hang on just for a second here, we're coming to the tail end of this, and if there are any questions specifically about this device and the software that it contains, that'd be great. All right, thank you, Brian. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and thank you, Doug, for allowing that. So now, as we move to the last segment, cybersecurity, and in essence, that's what we've been talking about. How can a small to mid-sized business keep up? We're going to talk about cyber threats, the different types of cyber threats, and then best practices to prevent breaches as best you can. Cybersecurity risk that we have: employee negligence, that's huge; inadequate protection, employee mobility, failing to back up your data, and then poor cybersecurity policies. We know about ransomware. What's really odd to me is that this group, or with this Colonial Pipeline, they actually sell the ransomware to other bad actors. And when it happens, they've established a contact center, if you can believe that, where a victim can call in, use the code that the ransomware generated to pay out whatever it is that they're asking. Number two, business email compromise attacks. And these take two different forms: so credential grabbing and then email only hacks. As a matter of fact, when we announced that we were going to have this particular webinar, I received 2 very prominent emails that were designed to compromise our system internally. So it is a real thing ongoing. Cryptocurrency mining, and they don't really care about your data so much as they want to use your computer to mine cryptocurrency. So how do you protect your business against these type of threats? Having a password policy is huge. And now, because we have so many different protocols with passwords, password managing apps are popular. I wouldn't suggest writing it out and putting it on your laptop or your video screen at all. And I know a lot of people use Excel or Google Sheets to store that, and that still opens you up to the possibility of a threat. Password managing apps like Trend Micro, Password Manager, LastPass, and First Password work very well. Email security, and I don't know if you all have been keeping up, but 3 weeks ago, everyone that had a Microsoft Exchange server on-prem, they were breached. And we knew something was wrong because we started getting these strange calls saying that some of the data had been altered. And when we went out, we discovered that a lot of customers had these servers on-prem. Instead of using Microsoft 365 in the cloud or using Azure to maintain those mail servers. Having online security, using 2-factor authentication to log into websites, verify the links before you click on them, and then don't share your sensitive information on shared drives. And a lot of people do that as well. They'll put out passwords and logins for other users. Go ahead and pony up to the table and pay the amount for that other user to log in under their own credentials. How to protect your business. When you're outside the office, Brian alluded to it, make sure you're utilizing a VPN. Beware of the free Wi-Fi, and restrict remote access to your network. And if you don't know, every laptop, every server has remote access, and sometimes it comes activated. So if you don't know how to find that, reach out to us. We'll gladly help you with that. Computers and servers, again, choose a business-grade antivirus security solution. Implement multiple layers of protection. Isolate your payment systems. Restrict both physical and digital access to servers. Require 2-factor authentication to log into servers. And then make sure you update. That's a big thing. A lot of business owners, they get so agitated when it gets that notification in the corner, update, because they're going to lose some productivity time. But it's better to update and have the proper security prerequisites installed on your system instead of something taking place, because generally something's been triggered. They just didn't disclose it to the general public. Then they've come in to try to shore up that vulnerability. Mobile devices, treat them exactly like they're a web server or a laptop, because guess what? They are. Enforce passwords or passcodes on devices. Take advantage of biometric identification. It's trying to scan your irises or take your fingerprint. Install security software on your device. Require 2-factor authentication to log into your device, and then make sure you do the updates on a regular basis. The Wi-Fi and routers and network connected devices. And again, this is another big one. When you get your router from the cable company or you buy it from whoever, make sure you put in a different password. I've been to so many facilities where they're still using the default login and password on the router. And all someone has to do is go in and take a look at the bottom of it and get access. Restrict access to specific addresses. but also restrict access to your router. Make sure it's in a locked place, it's not out in the open where anybody can come and access it. Then if you get attacked, if you have an attack, put together a plan where, number one, you can respond, stop the attack, restore your data, make sure your data has been backed up, restore that data, and then get someone in there to find out what went on. Number two, recover, execute your disaster recovery plan, attend to any breach notification requirements, and then evaluate existing and new technologies. And I think we have come to the end of the presentation. So we covered 6 months of material in roughly about 40 minutes.
My head is spinning.
Yeah, mine spins all the time.
Oh my. Okay. Well, that is definitely a lot of information. Thank you very much. Critical stuff, and I think as you prefaced us and warned us in the beginning, it's probably too much for all of us to fully digest. But I do recommend all of the attendees, you will get a recording of this, and so that'll be helpful. We do have Ed's contact information in the chat area, or there it is, I see it now. And Brian Fox, so tell us a little bit about the relationship between you and Brian. He works for another company called Portum. So
Yes.
He's a collaborator, is that how it works?
He is. Brian has been instrumental in bringing new technologies to North America. And Portum has partnered with DigitalGenetix in helping get this out. He knows that we have a strong culture for small to mid-sized businesses. We do a lot of enterprise, but small to mid-sized businesses. And so what we did is we take a lot of his enterprise product and we make it available to small and mid-sized businesses. So that way they have access to it. So he's been invaluable in helping lead the fight in cybersecurity in Canada, the US, and Mexico.
Got it. I've gotten a couple questions in on the info@globalchamber.org conduit, and also feel free to ask questions in the chat area. It looks like we have about 10 minutes to handle questions, and you don't mind if we give you a couple, do you?
Oh, not at all. Go ahead.
Fantastic. So one is related to the two-level authentication for passwords and getting in and out. And it relates to what recommendation do you have regarding how to maintain your passwords? And it sounds like you're saying the two-level authentication is the way to go. So just kind of put up with that extra step. But how do you remember all of that stuff in a way that's safe and, not a piece of paper next to your desk kind of stuff?
They sell password managers. I think Password Vault is one. First, 1Password is another. And we actually get a lot of requests for Trend Micro's password manager, where you can take that on and you install it on your devices, and it helps you with that. And I'm telling you, it's insane. You can spend literally 15 to 30 minutes trying to reset your password, and each time they want a different configuration, they want to change the number of characters. It's intense. So I would recommend using a password manager app.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so would that include something like a LastPass, which is free
Yes.
online?
Yes. LastPass is included in that, I think. And what I'll do, Doug, I'm going to send to you this actual presentation, so you can combine this presentation for people that are asking for more information, because it's included and it was included in the presentation.
Okay. You talked about Windows, so the next question relates to Apple. What should offices and particularly extended offices be worried about relative to Apple security? Is it foolproof?
Nothing is foolproof, but it's pretty tough. And just make sure that you've updated to the Big Sur version of it. I think right now there are 11 different operating systems that are still out there for Apple, but the latest update, Big Sur, will give you a high level of protection, but again, nothing is foolproof.
Okay. So one of the another question is in the Q&A, and it relates to what about smart TVs? And so I don't know, what about smart TVs? You know, is there something? I think I think smart TVs are great, but is what the question relates to perhaps is that a vulnerability location for systems where maybe you have a home office and somehow through the smart TV you've got a vulnerability?
It is. As a matter of fact, before the Colonial Pipeline breach, there was another breach of a pipeline, and it wasn't disclosed, and that's a big problem, right? Because a lot of times, either companies are embarrassed, they don't want to let shareholders know, so you don't know what happened. But I guess in lieu of the Colonial Pipeline, what was disclosed, it was an article yesterday in Bloomberg that said that one of the largest oil companies in the world had a breach because one of their employees out at a field connected his Roku to their internet, and they didn't think they had any exposure. So endpoint management for your devices in your home it's critical. It's critical. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that. We're involved with smart homes, smart cities, smart communities, and that's kind of the big push right now, is bringing out residential grade protection, since everything is connected to the internet. So it's not standardized yet, and that's a problem. But again, if they reach out, we've done some workarounds in lieu of that. To provide some protection, but it's not standardized as of yet, no.
Okay. Could you tell us a little bit more about the services that you're providing, and what would someone expect by contacting you? Is there some information that you can, you have a conversation with folks and you kind of go through some, maybe even some helpful ideas and thoughts, and then they're interested in doing more? What does that look like? Are they only going to be in Texas where you'll be able to help them, or is it more broad-based? Could you kind of talk a little bit more generally and specifically about how you can help people through this?
Okay, well, DigitalGenetix, we're primarily right now in North America. We actually have locations in Tennessee, the Maryland, DC area, in Texas, but because everyone is virtual, remote, we can do a lot remotely. What we try to do initially is we'll always have a dialogue, have a conversation to kind of assess what the need is, and then once it's established that it's a good fit for both the customer and for DigitalGenetix, then we'll start engaging and get into pricing. And the pricing really, it varies based on the need, because not every customer needs the same thing. So we'd love to have a conversation with a lot of the businesses. And then just kind of start the process, because I think this is not just a one-off where we're going to come in and do one thing. It's ongoing. And once we set it up and help with the planning piece of it, become involved, we almost operate as a full-blown IT department for businesses that don't have an IT department. And if you do, because we do work with the city of San Antonio, city of Dallas, city of Austin, if there's a gap in your IT department, then we can actually slip in and help fill that gap for you. So yeah, it's kind of a new concept, and we we ran into it by accident because we were running into so many customers that didn't have what they needed by way of a technology staff, and so we've adopted and brought on the right experts, even in the hardware piece. We just got into that about 18 months ago, and that's how we wound up meeting Portum and the Cellaway group, because we started bringing in devices into our portfolio. So yeah, just give us a call if we can't help you, we will direct you to someone that can.
Okay. Final question. Has anyone ever come to you too late where they basically either on the compliance side where they made a mistake and it's too late and they now have to pay fines and penalties, and on the cybersecurity side where maybe their data is gone and they're being asked through ransomware to pay? Have you handled either of those cases?
We've handled both of those cases, and I think the biggest thing, and I'm going to reiterate it, this is an ongoing process, right? And this sounds really odd, but if you get breached, yes, it's bad, but it's also good because it makes it prominent to you, and you'll never think the same way again about cybersecurity. It's kind of like literally, if you've ever had anything stolen from you, it feels like a violation, a personal violation, if you will. And I know a lot of business owners, they take it personally. And then guess what? That word that we used earlier, vigilance, they become vigilant about security. That actually happened about a month ago with an organization, top shelf organization. And it was around the Microsoft Exchange breach that took place. And we had talked with them before about doing it. They opted not to. And then when he discovered something had happened, he said the first thing he thought about, and it was really like at 1 a.m. When he sent the email, he said, the first thing I thought about, he said, Ed told me I need to reach out to him and let him know. So yeah, it's never too late to start, but yes, we have helped organizations kind of rebuild the pieces. And I would say this final thing: if something does happen to you, at the end of my presentation today, I actually provided links to government agencies. Please report those so they can catalog them and then start investigating it, because a lot of times it'll happen in a particular geography or a particular industry, but no one knows because everyone's afraid or they don't know who to tell that this is taking place. And I think what we'll see moving forward is more localized policing of this, because right now the new cybersecurity agency is federal. But are they going to do that at a state? Are they going to do that at a local level to help citizens in those areas deal with what's taking place? So yeah, but please give us a call, and if me or one of my associates can help you, we'll find someone to give you the help that you need.
Fantastic. So definitely contact Ed ahead of time. Fridays are always a good day to do something significant that in terms of catch up. So contact Ed this Friday and just talk through some of your own vulnerabilities and how those might be filled in. And if you wait too late, you can also talk to Ed, and he can make the best of a bad situation, yeah. Which unfortunately sometimes, a bad situation could be the end of your business. And that's not how you want your business to end after a lot of really hard work. Really appreciate, Ed, the work that you do every day to protect our members from danger, and also help them and facilitate a greater success, finding opportunities and going after them. People doing international business are going to be probably more vulnerable to these kinds of things because you've got remote people, you've got openings like this. The example you gave where the fellow, is connecting in his smart TV or, some sort of a device, God knows where these are all entry points that are potentially very dangerous. Loved your example also of the things that you have experienced even in your own home, through smart devices and neighbors and your children's friends and things like that. These are real world situations that we all need to be aware of. We didn't have to worry about this so much 10 years ago, but this is something we all need to wake up to today, this week. And I know in our case also we'll be in touch as well, because there have been some things that we've been just not worrying about. and we need to as well. So Ed Pope, thank you so much. DigitalGenetix, great presentation today, great information. For those of you who have attended, you'll receive the slides and the information. And if you're watching this on YouTube and you didn't attend the original event, then contact us at info@globalchamber.org, and we'll make sure that you get connected to Ed. Ed, any final comments?
No, I appreciate it. Please stay vigilant. And again, Doug, Cesar, thank you for all that you do for businesses all over the world. I really appreciate it.
We appreciate you. Let's also give a shout out to the amazing Christopher Herring, Global Chamber San Antonio. Thank you for your amazing work there within the region and connectivity to the community, doing great work as well. Thanks everybody for attending, and have a great rest of your day. Take care all.
All right.
Thanks, Ed. Appreciate it.
Thank you.